Okay, we are live, and welcome to episode 4 on the deep dive. Now broadcasting onto YouTube Live because it seems that no one is watching this on Twitch. And because, I'm going to be uploading them to YouTube anyways, why not just cut out the middleman and just beam it directly into YouTube servers? So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the deep dive, this is a long-form critical analysis of video games. We're starting here with Final Fantasy XIII, a game that has received a lot of criticism, some of it valid, some of it less so, but nevertheless remains a highly divisive addition to the Final Fantasy series. So I'm going to be spending, as we play through, talking about individual design choices, individual mechanics, and also mechanics in the larger form, talking both very specifically and very broadly about what the video game does well and what it does poorly. So, right now, we're at the part of the game which is probably my least favorite. It's where we're controlling Hope. So the main cast has split into 3 different pairs, and they're going about the world. They're going about this interesting situation they've ended up in these pairs, and will be using that opportunity to develop their characters more thoroughly for the audience, mostly. This particular pairing, Hope and Lightning, is a little important because Hope is really frustratingly Hamlet-esque, I suppose you could call him, in that he has very strong opinions about things and really should voice them, but is deciding not to simply because it's awkward. And as a result, bad things are happening. Oh boy. Thank you. So, as one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of playing Hope is because the synergist role is not one that I enjoy playing, and the medic role is one that I like having access to, but because he's really that or Ravager, essentially you spend all your time just throwing your spells around and you're relying on your AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Which I'm not a huge fan of not doing things myself. Which is partially the reason why I pretty exclusively use selecting my own abilities rather than using the auto chain. The obvious other choice being is that the auto chain is just slightly worse at it than you are. And the less obvious choice is that, thematically speaking, the game is wanting you to not use the auto chain feature, because it's really all about making your own decisions. And that's kind of what it comes down to when it comes to a lot of the criticisms of the game, is that it doesn't let you make very many decisions, which is
Have you ever been here before?
Which is an intentional choice as far as design is concerned, because the entire story is about not being able to choose for yourself, and therefore the game itself restricts the choices you're able to make, up until a point where, for storyline reasons, the characters decide to make their own choices, in which case the game opens up, and you suddenly have all of the choices.
To keep you safe.
And so Lightning unwittingly gives Hope the tool that he uses to contemplate murdering Snow with.
I'm glad I followed you. By myself, I would have had no chance.
Well, I'm glad you admitted it, Hope. A little bit of character growth, but only slightly. Hope has a reputation of being very mopey, which is, a direct result of him watching his mother die about, 2 hours ago. And he's basically in survival mode as a result of that, and no self-respected 13-year-old does well when they're in survival mode. Oh, we're not avoiding this combat.
No holding back.
And so one of the good things they've done here is that all of the enemies you face have elemental weaknesses, and they're so that as you learn them, you get to realize how effective it is to actually exploit elemental weaknesses. Let's get that going and slash and burn.
Be ready. ready for the
And
next
so
fight.
it's the game is teaching you to pay attention to elemental weaknesses, because ignoring stuff like that is always bad as far as getting through the game well goes. And unlike although it's kind of an issue from and that they have to force you because it's not obvious when you're exploiting a weakness. There's no difference in the text doesn't change color, there's no exclamation mark or anything to clearly denote that you're exploiting an enemy's weakness. You just have to notice that you're dealing more damage and then later check the Libra to confirm that, yeah, I actually am exploiting their weaknesses. Of course, I say that and immediately we encounter one that does not have an elemental weakness. Isn't that just the greatest? Help me out here. There we go. Kill it, lightning. There you go. Ow. I think arrow is actually the best spell. Yeah, because it has a minor stun effect attached to it. Super good. Uh-oh, that's bad. And I died. Didn't keep my HP up.
I'm sorry. I can't do this.
And we're back into it. One thing that's super important with the retry system when you get that game over is that it doesn't have to reload the instance. Actually, basically, one thing that this game has done really well is it really limits the amount of times that you spend looking at loading screens, just as a whole. You get that first load when the game boots up, and it's a little bit on the long side, but then after that, you don't really see a loading screen for the remainder of the game. As a result, you're able to, witness the entirety of the game without getting bogged down by loading screens, because nobody likes loading screens. All right, let's take him out. Gross. Is he storing air elemental? What's it say? No notes on him. What about now? Still nothing. He's immune to curse though. Of course, I keep my HP high and he never actually gets to the point where he can use that ability. Isn't that how it always goes? I mean, of course, that's how it always goes. When you press the offense and actually stagger your enemies, they don't have the capacity to structure an offense against you. That's one thing you basically learn whenever you're playing action RPGs. A stunned enemy can't kill you. Oh good, this is gonna be tough. I'm not saying that just because there's dogs around.
How about this, Light?
Ow. Rude. Yeah, gotta switch for the stagger. Yes. If you time that super well, you get to make it so that your teammates don't actually get staggered between attacks. And it actually works fairly well, because unlike a lot of games where you have a main character and sub-characters, your sub-characters are as good at doing whatever it is they're doing as you are. So making sure that everyone gets to take their actions is the way to go. Third, and keep going, and you beat it up. Just using Paradigm Shift to enable lightning. From a secondary perspective, that's probably another advantage of making you control Hope at this stage, is that you can appreciate how good a commando role is, and how good lightning is at just finishing enemies off. Right. Throw that boomerang around. Show everyone why you're a terrible commando. There we go. Stagger. Boom.
Just another battle.
One silly way that this game handles the point system is that getting preemptive strike increases your point bonus, despite the fact that getting the preemptive strike basically means you'll finish the fight so quickly that you don't need the point bonus to get your 5 stars. So it's just a little silly. I'm gonna make this easy and just age assault for this behemoth. Because essentially there's no reason why you would need that preemptive bonus to 5-star an encounter if you started by basically having them all staggered. Ow. Oh, even with vigilance. Weak to fire and water. Don't have any water. Ah, you have magic too? Well, isn't that just the worst? Oh, you're the only one that can stagger it now, Lightning. Hit it with that Aqua Strike. No, don't alternate. You specifically have physical attacks like this. This is why I don't use the auto chain, because it does stuff like that. Oh. That to do with the stagger. Come on, help me out, Lightning. Oh. Ah, I did that wrong. Okay. Switch back. Gotta help with the staggering lightning. Oh, this is bad. And it's suddenly not bad.
Just another battle.
Killed it before we got to stagger it. Boy, that is not the greatest treasure. That's a... I talked briefly about this in the previous episode, that one of the negative impacts of the crafting system being the thing that dominates your character's equipment is that treasure chests
What is it?
never give you something that's amazing. At best, they give you 3 antidotes or a couple claws or a couple crafting components or maybe the base model of a super weapon if you're really likely, but you still have to upgrade it for it to be useful.
I mean, we're less
So
and we're on the loose.
basically, never does a treasure chest
Psychom's keeping it all under
seem
wraps.
important to catch.
They don't want their
It never
failure
seems like you're
publicized.
missing something if you don't
Better to lose
get it.
us than lose their pride.
So the other soldiers don't know about us, right?
Right. They don't know anything about any fugitives.
Lightning coming to the realization that they can just waltz back into town as if nothing's wrong, and they'd probably be fine.
Here.
Spoiler alert, it's a little bit what they do. Now, of course, one of the interesting questions is, where are we?
Calm. We don't need to rush.
This is some sort of, like, jungle with
Concentration's important, but never lose sight of
mechanical
what's
lifts and stuff all over the place. For what purpose? Don't know. The map text called it a research library, but for a research center, there sure is a lot of not a research center. As far as maps go, this one's probably the one that makes the least sense about what's going on so far. In that this map, from a story perspective, doesn't really make sense. Right? Come on, leap over me. There we go. Leap over me. There we go. Disobeying the #1 rule of RPGs, actually fight the opponents you come across. But it's fine. This game's not so hard that you have to... Ow. That you have to worry too much about that. Come on, yeah. And of course, when we eventually meet back up, with the others, we'll catch up experience-wise pretty easily. And ow. Nah, you're gonna lose all your ATB already. Come on. Ooh, we actually might stagger him this time. Yes! Just in time to smack him once. kind of interesting that his HP is balanced that way, but that might just be as a result of the way that I've upgraded my equipment. I ain't fighting you two. I'm just gonna go this way if you don't mind. What's with those weird glowing platforms that de-glow as you approach them? Actually, that's a good idea. It lets you know which direction you need to go in order to progress, because it happens very frequently when you have... Whenever you have combat, really, even if it's not instance in a random encounter, whenever you are exploring a map like this and you have combat, you might get turned around. Which way was I going? Which way do I need to go to progress? Those lights make it so that it's easier for you to know, well, I was going this way. I obviously have to go that way because I haven't deactivated that light yet.
How about this light?
Now, there's definitely going to be a huge laser beam coming from that behemoth. There's no way we're going to kill him before he's charged. Hey, don't be mean. Alright. Ow, that freaking hurt. Just want to beat you up in peace. You're just clawing me to hell. Very inconsiderate. There we go. Oh boy. We do not have any sentinel rolls. So, let's try and keep us from dying with whatever's going to happen here. Yep, here comes a heave. No? You just not charge your power? This is 90%. It's sure lasting a long time. I don't think it's specifically there just to make us panic. Oh yeah. That was rude. Huh. All we really got was that heave. So it's interesting that there wasn't really much... Oh, 4 antidotes? Why would you give that to me? It's interesting that there wasn't really a payout to that danger there. I mean, sure, I did cast Protect myself to have the damage it dealt, otherwise that would have actually been very painful. But I expected it to be more of a, if you didn't have Protect on, you are super dead. I guess they wanted to take it easy on you at this stage of the game.
Saz and Vanille? Who knows?
Not I. I didn't care enough to stick around.
They'll get caught eventually. Then they'll have to choose. Resist or surrender.
Lightning talking about them when she's really thinking about herself.
Surrender. Huh. Do you think he's still alive?
That asshole? Of course he is.
You mean Snow? He's too stubborn to die.
Because that's how it
And
works.
that's his best quality. He's arrogant and chummy from the get-go. He thinks he's everybody's pal. Never liked him much.
And that's what
Leads
you and Hope
around
have a
bunch
little bit
of
in common.
kids. Gang called Nora.
Where'd they get the name Nora?
It's a stupid acronym. Their little code stands for no obligations, rules, or authority. Must be nice.
In case you hadn't been drive home, that Snow's a little bit immature. Even Hope can recognize it's irresponsible. On to the next stage.
Well then.
I do hope this ends soon, because, yeah, one of the advantages of having the party split into pairs is that you can cycle through the different pairs semi-quickly, so that it never gets too stale following one of the pairs around for too long. You get to try something new, figure out what's going on, and then advance to the next phase.
This is an army facility for turning wildlife into
Oh,
weapons.
that explains what the Caporal Wood is about.
Civilians aren't allowed in here, are they?
We'll have to be sure and tell them if we see any.
Ah, jokes. I remember this. This is forcing you to get into combats. Yeah. A tooltip that's basically like, yeah, you actually have to fight these guys now. No dancing around the subject. Go week 2. Fire. Easy staggering. And then lightning takes it out. Oh yeah, she's got the gun attack now because she's hit a 4. I forgot that that's how it works. After you get your 4-hit combo in, they do a finisher that's no stronger than the regular attacks, or if it is, it's only marginally stronger. But it makes it a little bit. It usually just makes it look cool. In Lightning's case, its tactical advantage is that it backs up from the opponent at the end of it, which sometimes makes you dodge attacks. Emphasis on the sometimes, though. There we go. I gotta wait for you to attack before I do anything. There we go.
Maybe we should try something else.
No! Yes! Saved! And we're done. It's not until later when you get your actual combo finishers that deal a lot of damage, but they're a little bit harder to pull off because they involve when the enemy is about to recover from staggering, not when your ATB is draining, so a little bit less common. Oh, yeah, there's water. At Fear Siphon, despite the fact that we don't have any saboteurs. But won't that be great when we actually combine? Oh, so close to Quake. What do you need level? Commando. Ooh, launch. There we go. And Ravage. Perfect. Oh, good. That's what I didn't want to see when I didn't have access to Quake. Though Quake is a technique that's very difficult to utilize, and it doesn't really help you kind of know when. The best time to do it is when you get a preemptive strike against live enemies. You just Quake them to stagger them all and take them all out. I've never found a better use for Quake because it just doesn't do enough damage and it doesn't stagger things enough for it to be useful as an AoE attack. Or maybe I just wasn't paying attention too much. We'll have to check it out after this fight. Hey.
Here. Maybe we should try something else.
Alright, let's turn this around. Oh, this is bad. And we're poisoned. Hey, are you attacked? Oh, they have synergy with, when you're poisoned, they do that Envenomate ability that really hurts you. But also when they're staggered, lightning launches them into the air and wrecks them. Okay. Enough of that. Oh boy, poison sure does not do a lot of damage. You can see it just marginally reducing my HP by the smallest amount. That being said, poison in the later games is actually an essential debuff to put on bosses because it does a % of their max HP every second. Essentially what that means is when you're fighting a boss that is... I'm not going to be able to go up. Oh yeah, there we go. You're fighting a boss that has untold percentage. Oh, I needed to get Quake here because we're about to get a preemptive strike.
Just block out everything else.
You're fighting against a boss that, wherein your regular attacks barely do a lot of damage. That poison starts to be a significant part of your damage output. Didn't even need Quake. There we go. That's all we wanted. It's actually, when we talk about menu design, it's important to see that up here. Paradigms is at the top because they're kind of encouraging you to spend a lot of time customizing and rearranging those paradigms to try and fight with roles that work for the situation at hand, rather than trying to force your existing paradigms to work in a situation that might not be working for you. Alright, let's see how good this Quake is. Oh, it extends their chain bonuses. Oh, it's actually a little better than I thought. Especially if you have just a bunch of Ravagers. Okay.
Just another battle.
So yeah, against a bunch of weak enemies, do your AoE abilities, get that Blitz out, Quake them. Seems pretty good. The only downgrade is that it takes your precious TP in order to use. But here, we're about to see what is essentially the best case scenario for Quake. And now everything's staggered, so we very quickly get to the defeating them all stage. Switch, and then you beat them back up some more.
Be ready for the next fight.
And then because you got a Preemptive Strike, you get all that TP back, and so you can cast some more Quake. And since at this stage all of my abilities cost the 1 TP, it kind of encourages you to use them more, because the lower your TP level is, the faster it regenerates.
Caged in like the animals.
Boss encounter. Ooh, it's a non-augmented behemoth. Well, isn't that cool? What are you weak to? Fire and lightning. Let's get this super soldier out. Make my life easier by getting these attacks out. Painful. Ow. Ow again. Wait, doesn't it have... Oh, it's weak to water. What am I doing? Reading the help menu is completely wrong. Oh, there we go. And here you go, launch it up. And keep it from falling. And it fell. And it's back up. Time this to keep it airborne. I don't really think there's any much purpose to doing that, but it does make sure that when they're staggered and you're against one enemy, they just never get to do anything. Oh. And back up it goes. You of course later get things that you can do specifically in the air. But it's an interesting...
We've tripped the security
I'm not
guard.
quite sure why they would include an ability like
The
that
observation
launches them
battalion
up and
will be
makes them useless.
Let 'em
It kind of... It looks cool, but I think it's a little bit too powerful in that it does completely shut them down. And it's not cool enough that it makes it seem super useful. Because you eventually get that smite ability that smacks them back down when the stagger's about to end, but you'll see that ability proc maybe 10 times in an entire playthrough. So I can't imagine they would put that in specifically with that in mind. Alright, do you have that Quake ability? Because if you do, now's the time. Oh boy, get that second fire out. Let's Quake him again. Oh boy, that hurts. Quickly kill him before we all die. I mean, I could switch to a medic, but I'm just not going to. Aha! Beat out of the sky. Good, yeah. In the air. Ooh, that was dangerous. 50 hit points left. That's all you need. Because you regenerate HP at the end of each combat, so it doesn't really matter how much you use how much you lose inside of it. Which again, probably a good adjustment, because really in old Final Fantasies all that meant is you had someone with cure materia that would always get their MP drained as your fights went on and on. And they just, after fights, you would just go into the menu, cast cure on people that needed it, and just keep going. I think it's really important that they didn't do that in this because how that is balanced is essentially you make save points,
What's eating you?
either use tents or have the capacity
Okay,
to
I can tell you're
restore
hung up
all
on
of your party
something.
members' MP so that you can keep going until you run out of MP
Is it
that you need
Phyllis
to
you
cure
think?
your characters. But because this game works on a
It's snow.
keep
isn't
going
it?
forward, you don't have the capacity to go back. There's no main town for you to go back to resupply. There's no I can head back to a safe point
What
in order
happened
to
with him?
recover my strength and try to venture out
You wouldn't
again.
understand.
They don't. It wouldn't be good if you could run out of MP, run out of resources, and have to go back to town. That would require you to
You and I
backtrack to
are
the next save
partners,
point.
Hope.
When this entire game is about running forward and never looking back, the old Final Fantasy
My mother
tactic
was
of
killed.
running
because
out of
of him.
MP and having to go back to town doesn't really work in this game. And so it is, whether or not it's better isn't really the question. It's what does one system create gameplay wise that the other system doesn't.
It's his fault.
And in this system, gameplay wise,
He
what
needs
we
to
have
pay for
is
it.
something that allows you to
Not
push
ready
forward
yet,
without having to look
But
back.
I will be. Soon. That's why I followed you. Snow dragged us all into this. You and me, your sister Sarah. He's gotta pay.
And Lightning realizes that, or Lightning knows that Snow didn't. It was Lightning that really caused all this. But at the same time, caused is not exactly
I've gotta be
the right way to
stronger.
put it.
I'll take the lead.
Was because Lightning started the pushback against it. Wait, this is.
Just have to face your fear.
Wait, is
Then
this
you can take on
backwards?
anything.
Where's the map here? Oh, I didn't go backwards. Just kind of felt like I did. Okay. Yeah, Lightning started it, not Snow. Lightning knows that because she was on that train, whereas Hope was not. Hope only saw Snow take the lead on things and start all that. Because, though to a certain extent, what started it was the fact that they were purged by the government in the first place. But Hope probably hasn't quite gotten to his head the idea that they were not. It's kind of this weird cognitive dissonance happening with the population sort of represented in Hope, in that everyone is sort of told that Purge is a terrible place and you should never go to it, but Hope would rather do that than be in this life or death situation to a certain extent, without also realizing that it was never anyone's intention to purge anyone. They were just kind of trying to hide them from the public eye, where they just execute them in the background. Hope hasn't fully realized that as the case yet, though, and as a result is blaming Snow for things that really weren't
So far,
Snow's
so
fault.
good. Let's pick up the pace.
Though that doesn't stop Snow from feeling responsible for it, because you don't just pretend you didn't watch someone die and have some sort of responsibility in making it happen. Oh no, it's a small bit of leaf foliage in the way. Okay, at least she cut it down.
Could I use one of those?
In theory, you could.
Bit too heavy for you.
Okay.
Gosh, that is quite the knife. It's not even like one of those highly functional knives. It's more for show than it is for function. And of course, flashback to these
You became a
not
lessee,
super well
so now you're gonna
designed
marry this idiot?
food.
think I'm
I've
gonna
seen
buy that?
Japanese RPGs do
Full
better.
points for originality. But don't forget, if you really are a lessee, it's my job to deal with you. Sis. This is ridiculous. Worst birthday ever.
Wait, Sarah! Why won't you believe her?
You kidding me? She gets made a lessee and you pop the question?
Lightning, stop it!
No, you stop it! Get out of my house.
You're shutting her out! She's your sister! Fine. I'll do it. I'll protect her.
And that is essentially how most family arguments go about. X person is too proud to admit they're wrong or admit they might have overreacted, and fights escalate. That's basically how it goes. But hey, Sarah knows her sister. Here's this, you know, practical thing I can give you.
How practical.
We interrupt this program to bring you an urgent Sanctum bulletin. Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a pulse fal'C inside the city of Bodum. Acting with fal'C Eden's approval, authorities declared a state of emergency. The entire district will be quarantined in response to this crisis. This is a Sanctum bulletin. Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a pulse fal'C inside the city of Bodum. Acting with
So,
Sarah, I should have listened to you.
yeah, but you didn't. Too bad. So one thing that happened there is you saw Sarah's mark change, because it tends, as is revealed much later, the C marks change as a result of stressors or when you start to lose hope. And if you completely lose hope, then you end up being the Ravage. Then you end up turning to those Seath that are the really zombie monsters that you see usually near fal'Cs. Do a casting out. What are you guys weak to again? Everything's weak. Oh wait, no. You guys are fire still? Yep. No, don't heal me. You're about to get ravaged by these little guys, so. Yeah. Gonna have to die. Cure yourself. Okay. Painful. Okay. Easy. They get easy eventually. Actually, let's just do out. And done.
Just another battle.
That it is. One thing to keep in note is that their combat sayings, the things they say at the end of combat, the things they say during combat, especially when they're using their limit break, change in reflection of what's going on in the story. And it's something to pay attention to, because it is a reflection of, ooh, I haven't fought this thing before. Because it's a reflection of what's going on, and one of the most important themes comes about with Lightning's Army of One. That's one that really follows the rule of all of your. It's basically the good production rule that all of the text that occurs in your game should actually seems like the weak to fire. Everything that happens in your game, everything that your characters say, everything that you spend time developing in your characters should have some storyline function to it. Like, we should get some bit of characterization with every word that comes out of a character's mouth, even if it is a throwaway line or a bit of information informational text. Everything that your character says should be informed by that character, even if in video games you have to sometimes have that character say things that have more of a function rather than a form. Oh, is that the good weapon for lightning? Oh no, it's the magic one. Yeah, it's the one that boosts lightning magic, not the good one. But yeah, as I said with equipment, there's just the base model of a weapon that, you know, it's not, there's no way it's going to be better than when you have equipped because it's, you know, level 1, but you can eventually raise it to be better.
Out of my way!
There we go. And let's just take him. Wait, that's Libra. Oh, I don't have Quake. Right. They're not universally learned. I sometimes forget that. Yeah, you're weak to fire. Oh, it doesn't. The earth comes later. And that's kind of an interesting part of the. Oh, this looks bad. That's an interesting part of the game, that the knowledge of enemies' weaknesses comes in parts as you defeat them. Of course, the ability to cast Libra to skip a couple of those steps and get some information right off the bat is important, especially for the bosses. And the bosses, especially, they give you little tips about how to beat them as you progress through the phases of the bosses, usually telling you like what to watch out for, what things they might be weak to in particular, and other strange quirks that happens in bosses. Because there's some decently good boss design in this game. And weak to water. Ow. Alright, take him out. Actually, it's better to stay on the ground. And up you go. And up you go. Just down here and smack him with the ruin. Wait, you have magic damage. Oh no, we're good. Yeah, because I don't waste time jumping up in the air and doing the much slower aerial physical attacks, you just get to cast some ruins up there. Good way to use that launch ability. And that's something that the auto battle doesn't do for you. It might actually do it on certain enemies, especially if they're weak to magic. One attack to launch them in the air and then smack them with the ruins. Why would you look up ahead? Awesome. We got all these shops, and they very slowly get filled with stuff that's actually useful. Can't remember. So the upgrade system, as always, is fairly standard. We see them a lot more these days, but I can't remember. There's a way to improve these things. We might get a tooltip for it later, but I vaguely remember being able to take these maximized accessories and evolve them into something new. I know you can definitely do it with the weapons, but I guess we'll eventually get that tooltip. Just ignoring all of you. Hello. Passing by. Not really interested in the combat. That's actually not the way to go. Oh boy, they're right behind me. What's that? Oh, that's a fight between a bunch of dogs and a behemoth. In which case I'm gonna side with the doggos. Or, wait, I have Quake. I can just stagger them all. Wait, I don't have Quake. I'm not controlling Hope. Quick, Blitz. There we go. Oh good, I only staggered this guy. Oh, and I missed. Oh, quickly. Oh, well no, we lost a chain on that. Okay. We can easily re-stagger him though. You dead? Good. Oh yeah, they start half dead when they're in this locked in combat. Makes things even easier. That's gonna hurt. Boy, did that hurt. No more of that though. And away you go. And that's how you do it. Never saw that heat. Well, I guess that's the longest time a feral behemoth has ever gone unstaggered. That's what happens when you side with the big guy. You have to deal with the big guy when it's all said and done. Though in many ways it's easier to do that than deal with the 3 wolfos. They're just gonna spray poison breath at you and take you out. Now what do we have over here? Yes, we have a bonus area. Really, it's just this guy? You figured it would be a little bit more than that. Oh, yeah, it is a little bit more than that. Okay. Yeah, weak to fire. I was right. Yeah, when I was spamming those spells, I vaguely noticed that fire was doing more damage, but again, it's hard to tell. It does demand quite a bit of your attention to actually figure that out. Which isn't the best design. I think that's one of the big major problems of their weakening system, is that it's very difficult to tell what things are weak to. It's just functionally hard to see that this person is weak to that element. And that's a major issue. Ow. Alright, take him out. And bye-bye hope. Oh, he didn't die. Oh, he died. Hey, off you go. There wasn't really much I could have done to save hope there other than use a potion at him. Because unfortunately, it just takes time to switch paradigms, and he didn't really have time to heal himself. 2, 3, 4. I'm not gonna get a good stagger out of him. Yep, that's too bad. Painful. At least he's very quick to stagger because he staggers at a very low percentage. That also means that when he does get staggered, you're not doing that much more damage than you otherwise would be. It's the trade-off, and it's why... And it's one of the interesting ways they balance monsters, is that some of them have they have the thing called chain resistance, which influences how much their chain gauge goes up when they get hit. The higher the resistance, the less it goes up, of course. And so it's how they balance not just the speed at which things get staggered, but how much damage you start doing once they are staggered, and how quickly that bar goes up. Some of the hardest bosses are ones that have high stagger points and high chain resistance, such that they never truly reach a staggered point. You just build their chain gauge to deal slightly more damage as the fight goes on. And it does incentivize sustained offense, never quite leaving a command, always making sure there's a commando in play, keeping that stagger gauge from resetting. This part of the game is a little bit on the dull side, unfortunately. The Gapper Rightwood, I think, goes a little bit too long. Longer than it should. Because really all it does is throw slightly bigger and harder challenges at you. Not anything like amazingly hard, just slightly harder. We're probably gonna need to have you be a synergist here. Come on, protect yourself. There we go. Oh boy, they're about to get us with that poison breath. And then there's that poison breath. let's get rid of that, because that's just a bad time. Gotta love that Ravage, though. And here we go. Oh, yeah, so you're seeing some in-combat little text. This lightning encouraging hope whenever he lands a kill, and actually getting concerned that his HP is low. It's a very small part of it. It's very easy to miss, but when you notice it, it actually is a good way to help develop character. It's a good way to expand the relationship, and it's just good design to make that happen. It's good design to make your characters continue to be their characters even inside of a combat scenario. You don't want to have a hard split between gameplay and story wherein your characters basically don't exist other than in cutscenes. They're still the characters when they're in combat, when they're in the menu screen. And so you want to be paying attention to every opportunity you have to allow them to express their growing relationships, their characterization. The Tales games are fairly good at this.
Control your emotions. If you want to survive, you forget about sympathy.
That's not the best advice, Lightning. And I think the game kind of wants you to know that because it's set immediately after pushing Hope to the ground. It's like, act in anger, control your emotions immediately afterwards.
Think of it like a strategy. Focus on your ultimate goal and shut out everything else.
It's a good thing that Lightning has an epiphany and realizes that this is
move on instinct.
Not the best advice.
Let doubt take over, and despair will cripple you.
Are you talking to Hope or talking to yourself, Lightning? Probably yourself. Because you said that with your back turned and your head down.
I'll take anything to help me get through this.
Yeah, think of it like StarCraft, Hope.
I'll call it Operation Nora.
Nora?
My mother's name.
Well, isn't that just a hilarious coincidence?
Your revenge?
Yes. Don't tell me. I know getting revenge on him won't.
Yep, he knows it's the wrong thing to do, but he
back.
still wants to.
I know that!
You should probably tell him not to, though, Lightning.
But sorry won't cut it.
It's a shame that she has no idea what to do in this scenario.
Snow didn't kill your mother. The Sanctum did.
Whose side are you on?
It's not about sides, Hope.
Side of truth.
Exactly.
Fine. I'll fight the Sanctum with you. I'll learn to survive.
That seemed too easy.
How can you judge someone else when you know that you're the same? Even I have dark secrets. Secrets I'd rather forget.
Ooh. Present tense, so that was Vanille the narrator in the present time, not Vanille the narrator from the future. Again, that's not very easily distinguished. Oh, I should probably level that medic roll. Wait, that's super expensive. Why is your medic roll so expensive? Oh, but we get the accessory slot, so it's worth it. Woo! Don't get any medic abilities. That'd be overrated. Oh yeah, you get the accessory slot too. Alright, Hope is super strong now. Might as well level it up. Couldn't do it. What do we got here? Oh, you don't really have anything all that good, so let's just give you the black belt. Now, the role levels are pretty important, though. The game, I don't think, gives you that good of advice on exactly what that does for you. But essentially, the higher your role level, the higher the effect of being in that particular role has for that role's bonus. Commandos, because the role bonus... Ooh, that's an fire. The role bonus is interesting in that the role bonus affects not just you, but also all of your party members. So having a commander in your party boosts the damage of the entire party, not just the commando. Having... Oh, I need to fire. Okay. Having a Ravager in the party increases the amount that you increase the stage gauge, stagger gauge, as well as for the rest of the party. Medic increases the power of heals, Synergist improves the duration of buffs landed, and Synergist improves the chance of landing a debuff on enemies. And most importantly, Sentinel reduces the damage taken by the entire party. It's one of the reasons why having any Sentinel on the board is really important for dealing with anytime the bosses or powerful enemies are using AoE abilities, and is super important for staying alive. Of course, when you're dealing with a lot of the bonus content, you just need to keep one paradigm shift, that is, everyone is a Sentinel, in order to not die. But I think it's important that that is only necessary in the bonus content, because if they made that in the regular content, I think it would just, for a lot of people, it would just be too hard. There's a good chance that they just might not notice that that's what they have to do in order to survive. Because the game doesn't want to railroad you into taking one specific route in the one specific paradigm. They want you to have the capacity to make whatever decision you want to make paradigm-wise. And so, essentially making it so that you have to switch to all Sentinels in order to stay alive doesn't really work in that. Though in the bonus content, it's just there to add difficulty, because if you're doing bonus content, you can figure it out. You can figure out that you need that.
Keep up with me, Hope.
Keep them staggered. And done. Forgot how these robots are no experience, but they give you those good crafting materials. Not interested. Bye. Later. Still get the treasure chest. Ether salt. Does that just... Yeah. Goes the TP. Very useful later on when you're farming Adamantis by cheesing it. An exploit that allows you to get their extremely good drop that you sell for a bunch of money that you use to augment your weapons. This is going to be a hard fought fight. Alright, so we're going to start this with the Super Soldier. Why'd you cast Barfire? I mean, I know they mana drive stuff, but really what we need is that. Barfrost? Really? Could you maybe cast Protect or something? See, this is why I don't like having Hope in the party, because... Is he really... You're really just alternating between Barfire and... I need Symbiosis. You're really just alternating between Barfire and Barfrost, instead of giving, like, Protect and stuff. It's really weird. Alright, we'll give you another shot at this. Nope, still giving me Barfrost. Oh, I guess because there was the soldiers that deal fire damage and this thing that deals ice damage. So now maybe you figured out that maybe you can give us Protect. There we go. This is gonna hurt. Aha, but I had Barfrost and Protect, so it didn't really hurt. The magic of the Synergist roll. When it's not doing a weird thing where it's just overriding its own. Where it's just overriding its own bonuses by giving you the exact same thing. Alright. There we go. Boy, these guys have way too much HP. I guess they're trying to force you to actually stagger it and not take it out. And maybe to teach you to, just because it's staggered doesn't mean you switch to commander right away. You might want to keep on that Ravager roll to just build the stagger gauge even farther so that they take more and more damage.
Why do I have this feeling something bad's about to happen?
Something bad is about to happen, and you owe George Lucas a nickel now. Oh, elevator fight.
We're moving. What's going on?
I mean, it's an elevator. Hope, have you never been on an elevator? Alright, please tell me we're at the end of Lightning v Hope. Yep. This sure looks like a boss.
This is it. Operation Nora.
How is this part of Operation Nora? You're a backline support. Don't just run forward like that, Hope. Come on. Gosh, it's like you don't even know what you're talking about. Wait, I have Odin. Should really make use of that. Oh good, halves elemental damage. No way around that. Alright, let's get us up. Yep, that sounds about right. Alright, I'll do the curing. Okay, but like, leave me alone for a second here. Okay, get that stagger happening. Oh yeah, it changes its elemental. There we go. Weak to fire now. I can deal with that. Wait, hold on. Should really do this first. Hey, give us that Barfrost. There we go. See, that barely hurt at all. Heal yourself. To die, Hope. Really nice if you didn't die. Okay, now we can push the assault. Aha! That doesn't hurt at all. Actually, I should probably just heal us. Oh, I build my own stagger gauge with the curing. That's interesting. It was a stagger, though. I don't have frostbite, do I? Can't really do much here, so that's a shame. Don't have access to all the elements. It might be because I just didn't bring up Rapture roll. Oh, that's bad. Stem the gauge, and then get some cures out. Oh yeah, you don't have Blood Thunder. You just gotta deal with this. Use that gauge. Actually, I think now is a good time to show how to use summons properly. Alright, let's do this. We only have one usable character right now, has access to a summon. Might as well use it. Water, so next to lightning. Can you stagger? Okay, looking good. go. And into gestalt mode we go.
We do this together.
So cool. I really like what they did with the summons in this game. And it's actually a good idea. When each character has the one summon that they can use, what that means is that you can customize the animations for that one character. You don't have to worry about, does this work for this character, does this work for that character. You just do it all. Don't miss this. There we go. Flip it up and deal who knows how much damage. 3,000.
Until next time.
And there we have it. Odin took off a solid half of its HP there. Alright, let me extend that chain gauge while you buff us up a bit. Is it gonna hurt? Doesn't that hurt? Ow.
We got this under control. Here.
Who's that? Okay. Hey, that's rude. I was just trying to murder you. You didn't have to be rude about it. Ooh, executing the same element. Too bad we only have the 2 bars. Really should have done this. Ah, you only hit hope with that. I got some 3 attacks in. Yeah, in many ways using Ruin is just better than using attacks because it doesn't require it to run forward, and it just comes out a little bit faster. Oh boy.
Keep up with me, Hope.
Oh, it's gonna hurt. Don't die, Hope. Okay, here comes the stagger. Yeah, I think in total we can do more damage like this than we can with the summon, though the summon comes the stagger easier and with much less risk involved. Nope, don't want you to make any actions. And we're done. I like how that Zantetsuken did barely more than 2 attacks. I guess it is AoE and it does insta-kill things low on life, but still, you'd expect something like that to be a lot stronger. Odin is not exactly the best versus boss summon though. It is more of a use on
Stage 1 complete.
Use swing wide rather than swing narrow. Though most of, though now that I think about it, I think most of the summons are more for swinging wide than swinging narrow. All right, almost done. In the gap for Whitewood. No, we didn't get. We got a new shop. Oh, this is probably just gonna be. Yep. Just things you buy in order to improve your multiplier. Get them sturdy bones. I still remember that you need to buy sturdy bones in order to up to that 3 times multiplier. Because it's cheap and it gets the job done very quickly. And here we get a nice transition and just a good sample of how good the environmental graphics of this are. Like the believable light flare that vanishes as you would expect it to when you leave a dark room. Like that alone was a very good effect of that flare just going down.
That's it. Hallam Polum.
I'm impressed you knew the way, Hope.
That's where you
Usually
live,
city
right?
kids can't find the way back to their city when they're dropped into the middle of nowhere. I know if I was dropped in the middle of rural
We'll stop
Alberta
in
with
when we get
nowhere, knowing quite particular where I
No.
was, I'd be lost pretty
We're
quick.
at sea now, and no one's there but my dad.
And you hate your dad, which was established a little bit earlier.
You need to let him know what happened.
I mean, you don't need to. You probably should. Because last he heard, everyone in Bodom literally died. I'm sure even... Okay, not even the most, like... It's hard to know... In the abstract, it's hard to know exactly what kind of relationship Hope has with his dad, but mostly, Hope has a... I don't like dad because he's hard on me kind of relationship, as far as I remember.
Okay, time to hunt some lassie.
So what, we find him and that's that?
Don't get all hot and bothered.
Yeah, I'm just talking about finding and eradicating all of your friends. Don't take it personally.
Sarah, am I doing the right thing?
Nice. Not the best design to immediately cause a flashback once you enter the scene. Like, in many ways, you should have started with this rather than having a flashback to... Like, there's a better way to do this. You start with this flashback, then you go to the Lynn Bloom with Sarah Snow holding the lassie tear and being like, am I doing the right thing? Because essentially what they did was give us 15 seconds of pointlessness before getting to the real thing. Which is showing how Snow and Sarah got to the Pulse Fallacy. Apparently there's a huge firefight in the middle of Bodom.
Okay.
Who would have thought? You know, I'm not sure I know a lot about soldier training, but I'm pretty sure the rule is you don't fire your machine gun into the sky at a fleeing criminal. But this is also the people that literally purge entire cities of people due to the existence of a threat. Collateral damage does not seem to be their highest concern.
Snow!
He's trying to, but too bad. Falsi has something else in mind. It turns out that platform is not as safe as he thought it was. And I suppose they just didn't follow the wreckage to arrest Snow. I imagine that would be the first thing they would do. Yeah, they just stopped.
Sarah.
But you know,
I went to the Foul Sea hoping to help her.
you follow the
It was
rule
too
of
late.
convenience. To a certain extent, the audience doesn't really care about details like that. Because it's already a foregone conclusion that he gets away, so you don't really want to
Hard-headed, but-
That was-
drive home how specifically
Snap
it
to
happened.
We're rolling out.
Yeah. Hunting Lassie, right?
This is our chance. Do not let the Lassie escape. Move up.
One duo they never let you play with is Snow and Fang, because from a gameplay perspective, that would be a bad duo. Because you don't have access to a medic class. You have two Sentinels and their various weak attacking roles right now. And so it's actually a good gameplay decision to give them the roles that don't work together as a duo, because you can just not have the character play as that duo. Just have them appear together in cutscenes and in other people's flashbacks. It's smart. I think this is Saz and Vinyl now. Yes. Another slightly parental pair, only with Vinyl being much older. With both of them being much older, honestly. And Vinyl actually having, like, optimism, unlike the entirety of the rest of the cast. Though Snow and Fang, I suppose, are the ones that are of a little bit of a better mood when it comes to what's going on.
Fresh air. Nice.
So, where we headed?
Dunno.
You don't know? I thought you had somewhere in mind the way you took off.
I followed the smell.
What?
Saz, you should know better than to trust Vanille. She clearly doesn't know anything about what's going on.
Smells nice.
She's
Oh,
basically
nature.
rolling constant bluff checks to make it pretend that she knows what's going on.
Just smells damp. And I think something bit me.
Hide!
Sky.
They would not be flying that low in the tree cover. The chance of hitting a tree is just too much.
Not good. I wonder if those two were caught in the net.
What do we do?
What do we do? I mean, right now, what can we do?
Right. No choice. We run the other way.
See, it's interesting that Vanille knows that you can't be disheartened.
Which would be
Being a former successful lessee, she kind of knows the rules of how all this all works. So notices that Saz is feeling down and is like, you actually literally can't do that or you're at risk of death. So let's cheer you up and give you something to do.
As we set off, it was like he'd forgotten that I was still there.
And in that narration was future Vanille talking about the past. Because, of course. I don't think there's anything... Oh yeah, got some updated shops. Oh, this is the magic one, isn't it? We already have a probing staff. Oh, never mind. That's all pointless. And that's all pointless. Why even bother with this? Alright, so we'll play a little bit of Vanille and Saz before moving on. And of course, we got all of these Crystariums to go through. Let's get your Saboteur up because that's what's most important, honestly. Oh boy, maybe not. Oh yeah, it's a lot of XP to get anywhere. I only have a choice. Aurora. Yeah, we're gonna need that Overwhelm given the duo that we got. Alright, up in the Ravager. Really like the music in this particular map. Very... I think... Oh yeah, it's actually not that expensive to get that. Might as well max out the Ravager then. Gonna be that cheap. Yes, Fyra. Awesome. Alright. Oh yeah, you probably get your some seven. Oh, you can't get your second accessory yet. Interesting. Oh yeah, you need that Overwhelm too. Suddenly we'll be able to stagger things. Although we can do that with the Saboteur, of course. Boy, he was so behind. Yeah, that level of the Crystarium's rough. That's not really worth going into, so... Oh, you have a commando roll now. Oh, well, that's how we stagger things then. Oh, look at that. It's a good touch that the sound of the improvement gets louder and louder as it goes along, or ramps in tension. It really helps just make this huge ability dump just feel a little bit more engaging. Slash and burn, super important. Dual casting, super important. Basically all that is all we need. Give a divide and conquer though. Ravager, Ravager. You have medic commando. We should probably have a medic synergist too. Yep. Okay.
Now, there's a sight I didn't want to see.
Ooh, bunch of tomatoes. My favorite enemies, things that look like they're delicious to eat.
You're gonna regret this.
That are clearly weak to fire. Wait, don't I? Oh yeah, they're immune to physical. Good to know. Oh, should probably have Saboteur Ravager, to be honest. More than Saboteur Synergist. No, I don't want Divine Conqueror. I want dual casting. Just like that, we get 2 staggers out. Flandragora. That's a good name. Person eating flan. Not a person that eats flan, but a flan that eats people. And yeah. There's nothing quite as good for letting you realize what you need roll-wise than actually playing it. There we go. That looks good. Good observation, Saz. Never would have got that without you. Really wish I had Quake. That all I get is Aurora. Oh yeah, that's the 3 mana one. This has got a huge range. Nope, didn't do it. Easy. Forgot how good Aurora was. It's one of the reasons why Vanille as someone to play is a little bit better than Hope. Saboteurs are more interesting than Synergists, and Aurora is just really good. And so this duo is just a little bit more engaging. I'm gonna go this way actually, Saz. Wait, what's going on here? Oh yeah. Well, ain't that a thing. Never mind then. Following Saz.
Where's the weed killer when you need it?
Saz had the right of way. Oh boy, they're coming out of the ground everywhere. Oh, this was the bonus area. I don't want Mysterious Fluid. I just want to go. That counted as a preemptive strike even though they'd seen me. That's cute. Didn't get him during the stagger. Look at this guy then. Whoop! Forgot that you can extend stagger gauges while they're actually staggered. Easy.
I'm tougher than you thought, huh?
Yeah, one thing I'm definitely doing off stream is all of the crafting and itemization. It's fairly simple. You use the beast ability, the beast resources to give them a small bit of XP, while you improve the multiplier, increase the effectiveness that the materials you use have, and then you just use one of your big abilities, that one of your technical components that just gives it a bunch of XP, but reduces the extent to which they improve. They reduce the multiplier. Didn't get killed by the beast shell. This will get ya. Yeah, talking about in-battle commentary, the follow my lead pops coming from Vanille. To just drive home the fact that Vanille is leading despite the fact that she doesn't really know what's going on. So yeah, these interesting environments, they Oh, come on. That change as you go through it, and it's just very good graphics. Nice. Blitz and Aurora, all we need. What up? I'm gone. I mean, we're all lost saws. The fact that Vanille might be slightly more lost than you is not really huge. Very. Ooh. Move debuff. Might be worth pulling up. I generally don't like using just raw, has more magic damage than the other type of weapons in any game. Not even limited to this one. I just find that secondary abilities are harder to replace than... It's easy to get an item that's like, your attacks deal more damage. It's much harder to get items that are like, your debuffs land more often. That's just less... It's just harder to simulate. Because, generally speaking, you can just get it higher upgraded to improve your magic stat. And it'll just eventually catch up. It'll just be that small amount weaker in the meantime. And as you level up, well, that starts to... The different, like, yeah, as you level up, that magic plus starts to lower the difference between the high magic weapon and the weapon with the secondary effect. The math behind that is a little bit complex and relies on a lot of variables to turn out a particular way. It isn't out of the question. Ooh, nice. Killed during the paradigm shift. Essentially, you have to think of it in terms of percentages. If you have, if say Vanille's base magic stat was 1,000 and she had to choose between this 100 power magic wand and that had a special ability attached to it versus this 200 power magic wand that doesn't, that's really the choice between 1100 magic and a special ability or 1200 magic and a special ability. But instead, if, you know, Vanille's base magic is 50, then suddenly it's choosing between 150 magic and a special ability or 250 magic and a special ability. And you'll notice that 250 is almost twice as much as 150, whereas 1200 is only marginally higher than 1100. And so it's one of those things that you have to consider in relation to a character's base stats, what the actual bonus is.
Come on, we'll make it.
In RPGs like this, that's the kind of math you have to do pretty constantly.
It's too late.
Is it the Lassie thing?
How'd you...
You might be a Lassie, but you're still a daddy.
You're right.
Yeah, it turns out you can be multiple things.
What's his name?
His name is Staring Off Into the Distance. Hello, Staring Off Into the Distance. How are you? I don't know if Saz realizes that you can't just show people a flashback. Not quite how it works.
Dodge.
Ah, yeah, Dodge. When you want your kid to have almost the same name as you, but just change the consonants around a little bit. Saz, Dodge, same thing.
Well, they're never happy. You never smile. So here's what I wished. I wish that you'd cheer up and be like your old self again.
What a cute kid. Not the best voice actor.
How about that?
Whoa.
Your wish came true.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, it's my turn to wish.
What for, Dad?
That's my little secret.
Now, of course, one of the big problems with the game here is, hey, you might think that that's Saz's, like, partner. Totally not.
Saz?
The game spends a lot of time not actually
You all
explaining, and that's...
Yeah.
It's kind of the... relies too hard on the, oh, you'll figure it out later, but you're showing this to us now.
Really got to keep it
You should
together,
probably
okay?
explain it to us now. We shouldn't only understand
Now,
the
Let's go
the nuances of what's going on after a second playthrough or looking back into it. You should have the capability to understand what's going on the first time around. Even if it's hard, even if you have to take some logical leaps based on what you've seen, even if you have to really... Yeah, we can take that scale beast. Even if you have to make a huge leap, or you have to really understand the medium you're working in, or really pay attention to small details, it should be possible to understand what's going on. But the game hasn't told you yet that Dodge is a l'Cie that was specifically tasked with hunting down Pulse l'Cie, because specifically Sarah, because it just felt like you didn't need to know, when really that was kind of important for that scene. And yeah, that kind of introduces the fact that there is an issue, and then they're going to introduce later that, oh yeah, this is specifically what the issue is. But it's still kind of... it's still a bad way to go about it. To cancel that faster. Hello, Scale Beast. Oh boy. I really should have a synergist roll. What are you weak to? No idea. Okay, let's get that synergist out because that stagger is done. And that's one of the issues with only 6 paradigm slots. I just want more abilities, and I think... what don't I need? Maybe I should ditch double Ravager and have Undermine instead. Having to prioritize between those is quite difficult. Alright. Figure out what's up with you. Oh good. Immune to ice and... immune to ice and quake. That sure hurts. I should probably do more than just the one tier. Bam. Alright, let's stagger this guy. Oh yeah, that works well. We'll get him soon, Saz. Hey, wait a second. You have shell? Oh yeah, because you have critical shell accessory. Oh, that's cool. Aha! You missed. How does it feel? Come on, let's take it out. Yeah, they're not joking around when they say, this guy is actually kind of tough. But, you know, not impossible. You can avoid it if you don't want to fight him. In case you weren't already doing that for fights you didn't want to do that for. Jeez. Really wish I had that poison ability. Alright. Ow. No dice. Oh, it's so hard to land debuffs on it when it's got its carapace on. Maybe it's not even immune to it. It ain't immune. It's real resistant. At least it still does build a stagger gauge even when it doesn't work. Come on, there we go. Gotta be better at canceling it on time. Jerk. Come on, mate, our debuffs are wearing off. Gotta get going. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. You don't need that bravery. Nice. Stop the shocking breath. Let's take him out. God, even when he's staggered, he's got good chain resistance. That's not fair. Ow. There we go. Can't imagine that was a 5-star performance. 3 stars. 9 seconds slower than they wanted me to. So I need some... Basically just get rid of dual casting. There. That's what we need. Just a synergist roll that doesn't require Vanille to just stand around doing nothing because you got no one to heal. Oh boy, there's a lot of these guys. No thank you. But you can chill out to the music. And there's one thing this game does well, is that this is one of the... They do well at theming the music, though individual songs I'm pretty middling for a lot of them. Especially the battle theme. The battle theme is only okay. Who survived? Not for long.
Well, that wasn't scary at all.
Easy way to get those 5 TP back. No big deal. Gosh, those things are interesting and vaguely cute. The way they dance around and jump around. It's also interesting that they're really not a threat, because once you realize they're weak to wind and they tend to gather together. Oh, wait. Get that Aurora out. Okay, let's take this guy out then. Nice. Good shot. Good shooting, Saz. Where'd you get those guns, by the way? Can't imagine they just let you have them on the train. And they don't look like any of the guns that we encountered from the guys with guns that we fought along the way. You just have these guns. No thanks. Oh, I think we're... Yep. Unavoidable. But if they all gather together, it's also not all that difficult. I find it interesting that they essentially ritual cast. How they cast a spell and it comes out like 5 seconds later. Gives you some warning. And we're done. Although one of the proximal reasons why they're probably easy to defeat is you might have noticed that Vanille's staff is level 8 or something. And it's the one that improves your magic spells. So her magic right now is actually extremely high. But I imagine the next time I do some upgrading, I'll be able to get it pretty high again. But I probably don't want to spend all my resources on Vanille because I will go back to using Lightning and Hope eventually. Alright, what do you gotta say, Sauce? Spit it out.
You look tired. Not enough sleep?
I guess.
Not surprising. Cute girl like me. It's hard to close your eyes, huh?
No, he's got much more important things on his mind.
Lie down for a bit.
Roasted. Hey, what up, baby Chocobo?
Being made a lassie, it's not easy. I mean, look. Even I'm kind of worried. But even if we don't know what'll happen, we have to keep our dreams alive. Have something to look forward to. You know?
Probably tell that to Hope.
Next stop is Nautilus, City of Dreams.
sounds fake. Gosh, his hair's gotta be a mess. There's a baby bird living in there. There's no way his hair isn't, like, full of bird poop. Best alarm clock. Oh, hey, he's gone.
What? Sass?
Oh, please don't take him out of the battle part. I don't want to rearrange my paradigms. Don't do it. Don't do it. Ah, they did it. And they might remember it. It hasn't given me the notice that my battle party has changed. Which is good. Because if they made me do that Vanille run slightly into here, simply because Saz is here,
Sass?
that would have been annoying. If I had to redo my paradigm simply because
You
of
scared
that.
me.
What's up?
He's thinking about his kid. Worried.
I'm just thinking.
Don't blame yourself. You know, you can't control who a FLC picks for a focus.
My son Dodge,
Oh, now Saz is going to tell us that thing.
he was picked. He's a Lassie.
See, that should have introduced the flashback that we saw 10 minutes ago. That should have been the thing that was, like, introduced.
He said he wanted to see a foul sea, so I took him to go on a tour of the Uriday Gorge.
Or they should have happened, like, immediately after that scene that we saw earlier. This happening a little bit later was not the best. Yeah, and that was Fang and Vanille.
Dodge, come out here! Dodge! I know you're in here! Dodge! Where are you?
I forgot, it wasn't Sarah he was meant to
Dodge!
find, it was Fang and Vanille.
Hey, what's wrong?
Because Fang and Vanille, after awakening from their Lassie stasis, were around, and the Fal'Cie was like, ooh, bad. Here, this 9-year-old kid should be able to do it. This Fal'Cie are jerks.
You okay?
In case that wasn't
You not hurt,
apparent.
are you?
The fact that they picked a small child to be their, like, mission slave. Good job.
Those post-Lassie had snuck in and tried to attack the Sanctum Fal'Cie. It did the only thing it could and made Dodge a Lassie to protect it. My son, he got picked by a Sanctum Fal'Cie. He's a hero. But we're post-Lassie. Dodge's enemies.
You can imagine how that's weighing on his mind.
Psychom showed up right after that to take custody of him. And then, it was one test after another. Even then, they couldn't figure out his focus. Maybe it was look for Post Lassie, maybe it was kill him. Either way, how could a kid that young even stand a chance?
Pretty much, Saz.
After he was made a Lassie, Dodge had some way of sensing things from Pulse. He was the one who found the Pulse Fal'Cie. But the kid can't fight. So, that's why I put myself on the train to Purgeville. I figured his focus had to have something to do with destroying that Pulse Fal'Cie. Thought I could do it for him, and, well, you know the rest. If I was right about his focus, he's probably a crystal already. Of course, if he was supposed to take out that thing's Lassie, then either we die, or he's a Seath.
Die? Really?
Don't do it.
It's a pickle, all right.
So, yeah.
But the bird says no.
That's Saz's character struggle. The idea that he might have to choose between his life or his son's. In which case, he will he's basically already decided to choose his son's life over his own, but he doesn't know that that choice would result in that outcome. And so he's basically waiting for any confirmation that what he needs to do in order to save his son. And that's kind of what he sees as his options.
What is that?
And naturally, as a writer, we're going to make him see that option. Because it's not good writing if you introduce this character has a massive question that they don't know the answer to that changes whether or not they live or die. You definitely need to ask that question. Definitely need to make that come up. And I think we're approaching the end of the deep dive. I think we'll go to the next save point and call it to a close. And this is just an interesting weather thing you can do. Just change the weather to elusive hydrophilic wildlife. So yeah, you change the weather to change the type of enemies that you fight, depending on how much of a challenge you want battle-wise, because those I have no idea what you're weak to, so we're gonna try this. Enough. Oh, he's gonna summon more, isn't he? Yep. Oh yeah, they're all over. Ooh. At least the Aurora just frickin' wrecks them. Come on, stay together? Nah. Okay, we need to actually take this guy out. He's just gonna summon more and more. Okay, that's too many of them. Take it. Here we go. Yes. We're mostly together. Take you out. Nope, none of that. Don't have time for that. I think that's a good way to farm XP if you really need to, because you do not get credit for all of those small things that you kill. That was only 72. So that's cool. Touch it and change the things that come out. Ooh, that thing looks dangerous.
What do we do now?
Luckily, you don't really have much risk. It's one of the advantages of the no-risk retry system. You can see a strange enemy like that and you're like, hey, let's check it out. Rather than, hey, let's never, ever go near that thing. Actually, no, I need to undermine. Good shooting. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Don't need that third arrow. Maxing out your ATB bar is a strategy best reserved for people that want to do that, I suppose. Alright, you look frightening. Show me what you got. Aren't you literally that boss that we fought earlier? Same species. Painful. Oh gosh, that hurts. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. Not much we can do about that. We don't have any Suna. No idea what you're weak against. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Ooh, that hurt. We need to be at absolutely full HP if we want to beat this thing. Nope, we want that. Wanted this. Ow. Please stagger it. What are you weak to? Fire and wind. Have for magic. That's not good. Gosh, that hurts so much with Deep Protect on. Nothing we can do about that. Oh, we have all of our buffs. Alright, time to stagger you. Then we can turn it around. Ooh, we stopped the bite, nice. Come on, take it out. Yes! Yo, stops it. This is bad because now we both have the Deep Protect. And he is, you know. And he's not dead. Come on. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh yeah, he's got shell now. It's not really gonna help him. Oh gosh. This is what I get for changing the weather. Some things we are not meant to do. Die. Oh gosh, don't die. Oh, he almost got his stagger gauge maxed. Oh, that's fun. Alright, now we get to take him out. Perfect. Good shooting, Saz. Ah, that's not even worth it. Fighting bosses like that just don't really have much of a payoff.
If we regulate the weather, we might be able to control these nasty critters.
Yep, like switching to the easy tomato man, who are easy to beat. Ah, I got hit by that. His lanky arms. Might as well exploit your weakness. Come on, stagger. Wait, you're not attacking the staggered one? Come on, man. One's literally at the verge of death. Perfect. Really make this a fire chain. Gosh. You just can't get a stagger gauge going. Save him! You sure do. Alright, let's just kill him one at a time. Clearly the better thing to do. Actually get the staggers out. Come on. Ah, come on. I know he's in trouble, but not really, because we're just gonna kill ya. So much damage. Quick, before he slaps Saz. We're saved! Yeah, there was still technically 4 stars, given all that time I wasted trying to cast fire on single targets. Yeah, that's new. Oh, that would have been good for that Deprotect guy we fought. But that being said, resist Deprotect plus 30%. It's one of those accessories that's so situational that really, there's no good situation to use it. If you know the boss casts it, yeah, you can switch one of their accessories for it. But even then, once you later get the capacity to Isuna, usually it's better to just have an accessory that gives you a more direct bonus and just deal with the status effect when you get it. I've never found a good use for them. That being said, when they're upgraded, you have a real good chance to resist it, and so not having to Isuna it could be a huge bonus. But that would require you to level up all of those resist status effect bangles to a point where they're actually very good, rather than just leveling up an accessory that has a more general usability. A bunch of things around a scale beast? No, thank you. Depends if we change the weather, though. Oh yeah, just a bunch of tomatoes. Tomatoes are easy. Especially when we get the drop on them. Yeah, it sucks that the stagger gauge counts down from the moment the attack hits them, and that Vanille spends the time just smacking all of them. It really needs the change in Final Fantasy XIII 2, where instead you just use a AoE ability and everything gets hit by it, was such a quality of life upgrade. No. Actually kill them. 2, 3. Not gonna work. I mean, Sa's gonna kill it here. Oh, makes sense. There we go. Really? This is why I need that, this is why I need that increased debuff chance little piece there. It's just not getting it in 2 rotations. Frustrating. Very frustrating. And Saboteur is the best role. I say basically unironically. Debuffing enemies in this game is so strong. No, thank you. Oh boy, we gotta avoid this one, that's for sure. I'm just gonna go this way if you don't mind. Yep. Excuse me, pardon me. Thank you. Coming through. Hey, it's a bunch of tomatoes. Don't mind me. Yep, you can continue your dance. I'm just coming through. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Haha, bypassing things that we need to do.
It smells fishy, and I'm gonna find it.
Is that a boss fight up ahead? Sure is. Alright. The last boss in part 4 of the deep dive, coming right up. The way that they've balanced progression through this Crystarium is actually really good. Like, this level of it takes a long time to pass is super important because it forces you to choose to specialize in one of the roles more than the others. I didn't get Isuna. That's probably going to be very bad in this fight coming up. Because you have to prioritize, well, I really want this ability, and so I need to invest points in all of these. I need to invest a lot of points just to get to the point where I can get that ability, or I can get that thing unlocked. There we go. New accessory slot. If you resist water. We can't get any synergies, no. You know what? Let's give you resist lightning. We gotta spare one of those. It won't never come up. And the accessories don't really do that much else otherwise. Unless I just buy a whole bunch of power wristbands or something. So yeah, it forces you to... The Crystarian system forces you to prioritize some roles over the others, so you can level up your more preferred roles and leave your less preferred roles
What do we do?
unused.
I got it. We sneak.
Right.
This is not going to work out. There is no way this is going to work out. It didn't work out.
Just too much to ask to cut me one break, isn't it?
Come and get it!
Okay. Nope, I wanted the synergist one. Yeah, not having Isuna is already showing to be a problem. I leave with N key, so let's get real. This one, okay, if you're gonna thunder us, we're gonna attack this one. Nice. Did you water me? Why would you do such a thing? Okay, so please give yourself the N ability that I have. That hurts so much. Yeah, because your inability literally is antithetical to that. Like, come on, man. I'll give you one shot to change it up. No, we need to do this. Yeah, weak to water, which I have water. Oh good, you cast water on yourself. You did something useful, Saz. You did it. Ow. Jerk. 3. HP up. Oh boy. What are you doing? Oh, you buffed yourself like crazy. I didn't. Oh no, that's myself. Whoops. Just think. Oh no, you did buff yourself like crazy. Oh boy. Oh, we gotta kill ya. Quickly. Oh, this is bad. Okay. We, survived somehow. It really could have been the end of us. Ow. Jerk. Come on. What I really want to do is this. Oh, look at that. First runs. Ow. Jeez, that hurts so much. Constantly switching to medic rolls. But yeah, in Thunder and Water, very important unlocks. Because they really increase your ability to exploit weaknesses, which is really good for anyone, really. Oh, we need that synergist, don't, Okay. Good job, Saz. Here we go. After mine. Smack, smack. There we go. Take him up before he takes me out. That's all we got going for us. Oh yeah, you do so much. Look at those 3,000 damages we're seeing. That's why Saz and Vanille make such a good combo. Vanille is able to de-protect and de-shell, while Saz Bravery and Faiths, and then suddenly you're dealing a ridiculous amount of damage to the enemies. And it just shows how powerful it is to have a combination of the two. Not even mentioning if you get Saz to just give you elemental abilities. Later on, when your saboteurs are able to reduce the elemental resistances of enemies, Saz just gets ridiculous as far as synergist goes. It's a shame I prefer Lightning over Saz just because they technically fill the same role in the party, so it's hard to have both of them in the same group of 3. But Saz would definitely make a good addition to any team.
Just gonna run and take a look ahead.
Why would you do that? Why don't we just go together? Alright, I'll let you go take a look ahead. Can't imagine what kind of profit you're gonna get from it. Yep, that's a wall. It's a nice looking wall. Good find there, Saz. Never would have seen that wall without ya. Oh boy.
Oh, climbing over, Zal.
Oh, we can go
I don't
around.
suppose there's a hole anywhere in this vent.
Of course there is. Someone has already bolt cuttered the wire fence to let you through. Well, isn't that just a spot of convenience? Of course, it seems very dangerous. What, that it's an electrified fence and all. So congrats.
board the
You're on a
ship over
military
there.
base or something.
Huh?
Now this is a storytelling trope that really needs to stop. Oh no, it's raining. Although I guess for Saz it's a huge concern. He's got a bird in his hair. Oh, wow, look at that. That's actually some pretty good rain
Rains around
effects.
here, it pours, and then it rains some more.
Saz, do you hate Pulse?
Why wouldn't I? Look at this mess it's gotten us all into. Of course, it's not to say I always hated it. Seemed fishy. All that sanctum ranting about the threat from Pulse. Only a matter of time before they strike. Pulse is infested with monsters. Scare after scare. Not even a shred of proof. Tired old cynics like me? We don't just swallow that tabloid crap.
2009. Let's point that out.
Not me. I figured the sanctum was up to something crooked.
Though the government is lying is not exactly
Yeah.
a new age storytelling mechanism, but this came out around the time where scare tactics in politics really started to rise.
Business
And so here's Saz basically saying that,
really only
like,
happened because
you know,
Dodge found that Pulse
it doesn't
fallacy.
work forever.
You're wrong.
Huh?
Don't blame him. It was all...
Yeah, you're right. It was that scum from Pulse behind it.
Yeah. Just keep talking.
I might as well have tried to stop the rain. I fought the tears, but they still fell.
Classic storytelling. Hide the fact you're crying by getting in the rain.
soaked.
I'll be fine. It's only water.
Saz just basically was like, yep, hate that person that caused my son to become a Lassie. Didn't know that it's you. Wouldn't really have any reason to assume, despite the fact that it's, in hindsight, real obvious that Vanille is not from Cocoon. Given the fact that her accent is extraordinarily different, her clothing doesn't seem to fit with anyone else's, and she knows literally nothing about the way the world of Cocoon works. Saz is constantly trying to explain it, and it's interesting that Hand waves it off with Saz being like, oh, what do they teach you in schools these days? You don't know these basic things, when it's like, Vanille didn't go to school. She's been in crystal stasis for a long time. Since the last Pulse War. And so as a result, doesn't really know all this stuff.
This is Director Roche, SciComm Division. Cocoon is caught in the grip of a pulse-born terror. If we allow the sea activity to continue, panic
How to justify martial law 101.
Pulse Lassie threats are very
When you
real
see
life.
your citizens low-key as the source of unrest.
There can be no hesitation. That is all.
So that's essentially what's happening here. It's not the fact that the Lassie directly threaten
If we fail, our
the
citizens
livelihood of the sanctum or the cocoon. It's the idea that the government has painted Lassie, Pulse Lassie as these boogeymen that will come out and kill everyone. And then, you know, if they actually happen to turn around, then everyone's going to assume that they're going to come and kill everyone, and it's a huge thing. It's what happens when you
Get to the
have a
station
self-made
and board the train for
prophecy,
Eden.
create a propaganda machine
think
about
it's
these
still
boogeymen
running?
in the closet.
Well, if it isn't,
Anything vaguely
we'll
looking
make
like
it
that
work.
is going to have the same,
Then
have
punch
catastrophic
straight into the heart of the
effects.
sanctum? Now you're thinking like a Pulse Lassie.
Like Lightning
Well,
just
this is
accepted the
Operation
fact that she
Nova.
has to
It's not just snow I'm after.
destroy
The
Cocoon.
Sanctum's gotta pay too. Hey,
So,
you're the one who said we had to fight.
which is
Every
hilarious
minute we waste, we're
and
tempting
also
fate.
terrible.
There's some underground tunnels not far from here. I used to play in them when I was a kid. No one uses the entrance anymore, so even the army doesn't know about it. But I know where it is. We can sneak in under their noses.
Because Lightning really needs to have an attitude
Sounds
adjustment.
good.
Great. Here we go.
Yep, just don't unload the trucks. Don't guard the trucks. Just park them here. Leave the supplies on them. Send 2 guards to patrol out. No big deal. No one's going to be hiding in our supply trucks.
Huh. No more rivalries now. SciComm's brought in the Guardian Corps.
Okay. There's an old drainage pipe. We can use it to avoid being seen. The tunnel entrance is a little further up.
There's no way they wouldn't notice that. Though they might not see it as a tactical necessity to block it off. So they'd have to assume that the enemies would come from this particular direction when really there's no reason to think that that's the case.
Guess we're fighting.
Who's fighting? No, we're not fighting. Saving the gaming. Closing out the deep dive, Hope. Jeez, pay attention. Anyways, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Deep Dive. And join us next week when we go back to Lightning and Hope. Did they save my paradigms at least? Okay, that's good. Save my paradigms. So it's easy to get back. So, thanks for joining, and until next time,